Welcome to another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Today, my guest is Jenee Smith. She's a software engineer. She has a degree in biology. How does a person with a degree in biology become a software engineer? I have no clue, so I certainly will try to find that out. But I got some other questions. I'm curious to see what the plan was after getting her biology degree, what she had actually had to do to make that transition from biology to software engineering, and how do you even convince a company that someone with a biology degree would make a good software engineer? So I got a bunch of questions to get through. So let's get to it. Welcome to Teach the Geek interviews, Jenee.
Awesome. Glad to be here.
So I mentioned that you studied biology in school. Why did you choose biology, and what was the plan after getting your biology degree?
Yeah. I think like a lot of people entering college, they maybe don't know what jobs are out there or what even they're interested in. The only jobs I could even think of when I was starting at 18 was doctor, lawyer, and engineer, maybe. And I thought to myself, I don't think I would make a good lawyer. I don't think I would make a good engineer. Therefore, the only other job that I knew about was being a doctor. So I started doing biology. I realized I didn't feel like it was a fit for me when I was 3 years in, and I had enough, basically, I had enough for 4 years. So I didn't have the time to, change it all up and take 2 or 3 more years to do a different degree. So I talked to one of my career counselors, and I think this is a great resource for anyone because they're there. A lot of the times they are free at your college career center. And I laid it all out and I was like, look, I don't know what to do with myself. I need to figure out what I can do in 1 year and what job I could even possibly get. And she said, hey, take as many psychology classes as you can this last year and go into marketing. So that's what I did. And I started out working at a marketing firm that worked with a bunch of different industries. And that was so helpful. There are firms like that all across the country. A lot of people have heard of, ad agencies, but there's different kinds of marketing companies. And I was able to kind of figure out what sorts of companies did I see? What kinds of jobs had I never heard of? And I went and I had coffee chats with people and I would ask them about what they did, how they got there. And I sort of built little mini mentors as I went along. And one of my mentors happened to be my boyfriend at the time, suggested that I go into tech, and also suggested that maybe I should try a boot camp. Why not? And he made it sound like a challenge. He was like, I bet you can't do it.
And they use that challenge accepted. Yeah.
Yeah. My journey was a little bit slower. I know a lot of people who have done a boot camp and gotten into software jobs. For me, it did not take 6 months. It did not take 1 year. It took me 2.5 years because not only did I have to do the boot camp, I had to take some classes on the side, so that I could kind of get caught up to where I needed to be competitive. And I will not kid you, I applied 300 times. I probably had, out of those 300 applications, I probably had 30 interviews. And out of that, I got 3 offers. So it was rough, but it was worth it because I just believed that if I kept going, that it would work out. And I also didn't put all my eggs in one basket. I still had a job. I was doing this on the side. Um,
Okay.
so
So you got this degree, even though it wasn't, you knew at the end of it you weren't going to be a doctor anymore. I actually thought I was going to be a doctor too. But then I don't know if you remember the TV show ER.
Yeah.
It was popular in the 90s. So I used to watch that show on Thursday nights, and I used to see them. I didn't know if it was true or not. You know, it's just a TV show. Who knows how real it actually is? But I noticed that a lot of the doctors who were residents, they used to sleep at the hospital, and they'd be woken up at any time of the day or night, to then go and do surgeries or go and do their rounds or whatever they had to do working as doctors. And that's when the whole doctor dream died for me. I was like, I need my 8 hours of sleep. It kept just waking me up in the old time of the day.
I, I know that's right. That's my experience as well.
So no more doctor. You went into marketing instead, and then you had a mentor at the time who said consider going into tech. So going into tech, did he mean going to tech to be an engineer, or go become a marketing person at a tech company?
Oh, that is a good point I didn't elaborate on. He did mean get a job in tech, no matter what it is. And while you're there, you can try to transition to be a software engineer. It's a lot easier if you make friends in that company to let you switch. Um, and although that isn't how it worked out for me personally, I believe that having that exposure to what tech was like, and being able to go on coffee chats with people who are software engineers and be able to ask them questions was so valuable to my career transition.
Then the boot camp that you mentioned, that you did a boot camp and then you had to do some classes on the side to get to where you needed to be. Did the boot camp help you at all in preparing you for, I guess, the whole job search process?
The boot camp that I took part of was designed for people who were working full time, so it was on your own pace, which was super helpful, but isn't like the traditional boot camps where you're working, Monday to Friday, 9 to 9 p.m. That I think I've heard of before. So my boot camp wasn't the traditional one. That being said, I think it helped me stay motivated. I think it helped spark this belief in me that I could do this and that it wasn't as hard as I thought.
Okay.
But yes, it didn't prepare me.
So the answer is no. I could have used some help. I know I'm doing this part-time. I still got this full-time job, but eventually the goal is to transition into the tech industry. And it's already difficult enough not having that, computer science or computer engineering or software engineering degree. So any help you could offer would be greatly appreciated. And they gave you no help.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will say this. I got a scholarship to attend this boot camp. Okay. And I would, with the scholarship, I think anyone should go. If you don't have to pay for it, it is worth going. But seriously think and consider and look at graduate rates. Not every boot camp is the same. So I wouldn't recommend it across the board.
Absolutely. So now you're working as a software engineer. What type of work do you do as a software engineer?
Yeah, so I work at Microsoft, and I work on the subscriptions team. So if you've ever hit the checkout to buy, PowerPoint and Word, that's the team I work on.
All right. So now someone like you that comes in with this boot camp training and the additional courses that you took versus someone who comes in with a computer science degree, do you notice that are there any differences in the way those people are moved up within these organizations?
Yes, I do. I think that there is a lot of off the clock learning I still need to do. I think of the education that I've gotten so far as a software engineer to put me at like maybe a sophomore if I had gone through to get a traditional degree. And the people who got the 4-year degree have 2 more years on me, essentially. So I'm playing catch up every day.
Okay, that's interesting you say that, because I've spoken to other people who have done the boot camp route, and then other people who've gone the computer science route, and I've asked them about those differences and moving up within companies, or even just getting opportunities at all. And oftentimes, what I hear is there are certainly still some companies who are hesitant to hire boot camp grads, but then many are coming around to the idea. But they also say that the path upward is not any different. But you're kind of saying that because of the lack of a computer science degree, you have to do quite a bit of catch up to the people who do have that background. So that's interesting to hear.
Oh, you know, your question prompted me to reconsider. In terms of moving up within a company, a lot of that does require soft skills. And if you're a boot camp grad and you have experience in other areas, especially working with people, I do believe that it does not make a difference. And in fact, you might have an advantage in moving up. Um, if you're trying to go from a regular software engineer to the senior software engineer, then your technical background does make a difference.
Yeah. What I was just thinking while you were talking, Jenee, is also the people that do have those computer science degrees and that are in management positions, so they're in the position to hire people. Are they open-minded to bring in boot camp grads, or do they think, well, I had to have this computer science degree. I went through 4 years of school. I had to move. It was difficult for me to move up within an organization. And then you have these people coming in with boot camp, with boot camp educations. They didn't have to take out the student loans that I had to, and they get to move into the same positions that I had. No way.
I mean, it's a big world. So I do think that attitude still exists in pockets, but I think it's changed a lot, especially in the last 5 or 6 years. I think a lot of people are open to it.
Nice. And it will change even more when more boot camp grads become those decision makers. And then they'll be the ones hiring people, and they won't discriminate against the boot camp grads. So I'm sure that will happen with time.
Exactly.
So I started this podcast and YouTube channel, Jenee, because of my own struggles giving presentations in front of people, and it wasn't pretty. I used to sweat quite a lot. The sweating has gone down considerably since then, but I because I've improved at doing it, and I eventually saw the benefit of someone working as an engineer becoming more proficient at those soft skills that you mentioned. So when did you see the benefit of becoming more effective at giving presentations?
Yeah. Well, it's a skill I'm still building. Honestly, it terrifies me. I get some of the sweats, the shakes. But I took a intro public speaking class. It was at like a community center, I think. And it was like the first intro class because I didn't want to pay for it. And it was super helpful. They had a bunch of exercises. Yes, people should pay for things. It was really helpful. They gave us a bunch of exercises and practice. I did an improv class, and that really helped with dealing with nerves and thinking on the spot. And what else? The only other formal practice I think I've had beyond just practicing the speech over and over and talking with my friends, I think that's been all. Yeah.
One question I failed to mention before is, you mentioned that you went to a boot camp on a scholarship. If you had to pay for the boot camp, would you have gone?
If I had to pay for the boot camp, would I have gone? I don't even know if I know how much it cost, but it was more than I would have. Probably not. It was more.
Man, you took a long time to say no.
I did because I might have said yes, but
okay, all right. So yeah, it seems like you're very money conscious. You didn't want to pay for the intro public speaking class. You didn't want to pay for the boot camp. You need to get your things for free. I got you.
Listen, we all come from different places. We all have, journeys we're trying to get to. So
Hey, I
I
hear
do
you.
think you should invest in yourself. And I think it can absolutely be worth it to pay for a public speaking course, to pay for a boot camp. Just because I may have been reluctant, I think people should invest in themselves. And, if you were planning to take yourself for something else, maybe taking a chance on yourself is worth it.
All right. So do as I say, not as I do. I got you.
Free intro class, that's all I'm saying.
That's wonderful. So I mentioned earlier that me giving presentations in front of people was something I wasn't always that great at, but I saw the benefit of getting better at it, and I did. It sounds like this is not something that you've always been that great at, and you mentioned practicing has been helpful and doing it in front of your friends. Are there any things that you've done to get better at giving presentations?
Oh my goodness. Yes, I can't believe I forgot this. There is an organization called Toastmasters. And they have them. I don't know exactly how the chapters are organized, but the Toastmasters I was a part of had a lot of people from my company. And I went and they had make you practice public speaking. And it was nerve-wracking. But I felt that I got some helpful tips. There are still a ton of things that I need to improve on, but just being comfortable speaking, I think helped a lot.
Yeah, I was actually a member of a couple of Toastmasters clubs as well, and you're right. It's a great forum to practice your public speaking. And for those of you all that don't know about it, it's an international organization, so they have chapters all over the world. And the goal is really to help people become more effective at giving presentations or just public speaking in general, become more comfortable doing it. And I remember being at one of my clubs, and there's a counter, and the counter counts all of the filler words you use, and they actually used to take your money if you use too many of them. I
Oh,
remember there was this one guy, and they'd have this jar where you'd have the count, I guess the filler word jar, and every time you use the filler word, you're supposed to put money into it. One guy used to come in there, just put money right away because he knew he was going to use a whole bunch of them.
oh man. Well, I'm that one guy too, because that's something I struggle with.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely something to, I guess, to manage, because I know for a fact that there are people who are distracted by too many filler words. What too many is, of course, subjective. So perhaps the goal is to try to minimize them as much as possible, but certainly not to the point where you're even hesitant of giving presentations at all, because you know that you're going to use filler words and you think, well, if I'm going to use filler words, and I don't even want to get up there in front of people at all.
Yeah, you can't miss the forest for the trees kind of thing.
No doubt. So now I'm kind of curious, with the presentations that you have given, or that you have to give, do you have a process for putting them together? And if so, what is it?
Yeah. So I have just started to give more presentations in the last like 6 months, I think. And I sat down with one of my mentors and I said, "Hey, I want to figure out how to do this. This scares me, and I think I'm gonna do it." And so I started out small. I thought to myself, what is something I know about that I can share with people? And I started from that because I had a lot to talk about on one particular subject, which is resources for people who are looking to break into tech, because that's something I experienced. And I had the opportunity to spend some time with a group of interns who were basically in the same program I had gotten into, just a little bit younger. And I gave the presentation to them. I practiced it over and over again. I tried to make it something I would want to watch, because I've been to a lot of really boring presentations. And I got up there, and the thing that sticks out to me from that presentation, because I made a ton of mistakes, was that people liked the interactive stuff. I asked a lot of questions. I tried to keep people seeing how this problem could be something that they've had, could be something that they could fix. And when I went around the room, because we did a workshop, I saw just how many people needed the thing I was talking about. So I gave another presentation. I've now done sort of a similar format in a couple different ways. I've had a presentation where we had some technical difficulties, so all of the interactive and fun questions couldn't even happen. And I had to figure out how to deal with that in real time. I'm so sorry. I'm starting to get away from what the question was.
Today I tried to ask the questions as succinctly as possible so people don't have to think too hard about what the question is.
I'm sorry. I haven't had my coffee this morning.
Oh, man. All I asked was, do you have a process for putting your presentations together? And if so, what is it? That's it.
Blah, 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 blah. I apologize to
No, it's not a problem. But it sounds like what you've had to do within the last 6 months has been really helpful to the people that you've been presenting to, and I'm really glad that they have someone like the people who are in the same that are in the same program that you were in have you as a resource, since you're not too far. I mean, I'm assuming you're not too far ahead of them, so they can relate to you as opposed to someone who's years ahead and they don't even see themselves in that space yet, but they can possibly see where you are right now. So it's great that you're willing to even give those presentations, so kudos to you.
Yeah, if I had a redo for that, it would be listen to the people that you're speaking with, practice with a small group, reformulate. And just like that, I talked on and on and on. Now I've reformulated.
Nice save. Do you ever get nervous before giving presentations? And if so, how do you deal with your nerves?
I get quite nervous. And if you can tell, I just rambled on and on because I feel a little nervous right now. Some of the tips that I use, I have a playlist. It's like a Zen playlist, like a meditation music on Spotify I listen to. I have like a face cream I always use. I have like a power outfit I always put on. I'll do a little bit of yoga. I just try to get my mindset into a place of relaxation.
All right. Yoga, power outfit, playlist, and face cream. Okay. that's a nice mix right there.
Yeah. gotta feel good.
Yeah. Especially you gotta get the right face cream. You can't get the one that dries your skin out too quick. You have to last you up the day.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
I try to get my mindset to think about the fact that, what happens if I go up there and make a fool of myself? Would that really be the end of the world?
Yeah,
absolutely. A little bit.
Yeah, I hear you. And then with the face cream, you don't want to be ashy when you're in front of people, so you definitely need to, show your best face.
Amen.
So for the people who are listening or watching this conversation and they want to get better at giving presentations, what would your number one tip be to be more effective at giving presentations?
Yeah, I think my first tip is get resources. So if you have someone you can talk to that you think is good at public speaking, ask them what they did. And although I was hypocritical earlier, if they suggest a class for you, I think you should try it. Maybe see if you can do a discount, see if you can do something free, if cost is an issue. I'm just being honest, but talk to people, figure out what they did, and ask for feedback. And also don't be afraid, because I think so often we're afraid to take a risk to do something different because it puts us out of our comfort zone. We're afraid to try that thing because we think, I'm going to fail. And the honest truth is we do when we first start learning something. You know, I remember learning how to ride a bike. I fell over and over and over again, and that's okay. So please take the risk and invest in yourself.
Yes, but get the discount first.
And yes.
But yeah, I totally take your point, Jenee, about there very well be failures at first, but growth comes from growth comes from discomfort. So if you actually want to get better as a person, you're going to have to try things that you haven't done before, because then if not, then you just have to stay where you are. And then when you stay where you are, you don't get the promotions that you want, and then you get mad because the other person got it and you thought you deserved it, but no, you didn't deserve it because you didn't do anything to get better, and this other person did. So I mean, you kind of made your bed, so now you got to lie in it. I totally take that point. So this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for being a guest, Jenee. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, my I'm both most reachable on GitHub, and my GitHub is Jenee Smith 1. My name should be spelled on the materials here, and I am also on Twitter, also Jenee Smith 1.
All right. Excellent. Well, this marks the end of another edition of Teach the Geek interviews. My name is Neil Thompson, founder of Teach the Geek. You can learn more about it at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Until next time, take care and stay safe. Thanks, Jenee.
All right, thank you so much.